Hey everybody, Roxaboxa90 here with some more Born of the Gods spoilers. Yes, we are back, and wow, we got a ton of good stuff to go through today. So let's quickly start off with the booster packs. And it's not really spoilers, so to speak, but you get to take a look at how cool they look. We only have Mogus, Ifara, and Phoenix on the packs. The booster box is Xenagos, sorry, obviously. And the intro packs, we've already seen these cards all spoiled. They'll be a nice foil for you guys if you're interested in picking them up. And they will hopefully look really cool in foil. And the event deck, the interesting thing to note about it, besides the fact we don't know who this is, but presumably this is going to be a good card, now with 10 rares. So event decks in the past, I guess, haven't had 10 rares. I think they've had fewer, but they're putting in 10 rares to try to justify more value. Hopefully this doesn't mean that they're going to be cutting back on the value rares in order to bulk up the rares and convince newer players that this is a good buy. I hope not. Hopefully these are just trying to make the product better. Can't wait to see what card he is, though. He looks great. Then we start with Tromocratus. Gosh, it's awesome that he's a legendary creature Kraken, because he can be your commander, and you can be like, I cast Tromocratus. And maybe say it like an epic voice, Tromocratus. Something. He's a Kraken, 5 for 2 blue, 7 for an 8/8, has hexproof unless it's attacking or blocking. This is important for EDH and for limited, because you need to have good protection if you want to have a general, and if your creature wants to have legs, because most creatures, if they don't have hexproof or some variant of protection and evasion, not very good. This card has both protection and evasion. Whenever it can't be blocked unless all creatures defending player controls blocks it. Realize that if they have anything that doesn't block him, then he's unblockable, which can be very good evasion, even if you can just somehow build a deck that tap down one of their 1/1 utility creatures. Then he's unblockable, which is a big deal. And the fact that he is hexproof except for a very narrow period of time makes him, I think you could definitely build a deck around him. He's more of a generic creature for EDH otherwise, and in limited this card's going to be insane. I don't see a constructed place for him for 7 mana. Really not in existence right now, but for limited this is insane, crazy beater, and for EDH it'll be a lot of fun, at least for casual players to build around. Very cool card. Fated Retribution is not confirmed yet, but they're pretty sure it's legitimate, so we're going to go with it. There apparently is now a Fated cycle. We saw the Buy a Box promo, and now we're seeing this card, 4 and 3 white for an instant speed Wrath that destroys all creatures and planeswalkers, and if it's your turn, you scry 2. So that's what all the effects seem to have. 7 speed Wrath effect that's instant is pretty good, but I don't think it's there for limited. It's really for limited or for standard even. This is really an EDH built card, and mono white decks rejoice, because this is a great card, and it definitely fills in for Route, or as another Route variant. Route is 5 for a sorcery speed Wrath that if you pay 2 colorless, 7 mana essentially, you get a instant speed Wrath spell. This card fits into the same place in the deck, and it also hits planeswalkers, which is really great for EDH. Creatures and planeswalkers, that's fantastic. Mono white decks, though, will be more likely to run it because of the 3 white cost, and maybe 2 colors too. But as a rare, I think this card will definitely see some EDH play, especially that if you do it sorcery speed, you get a scry 2. Not so good for EDH per se, but it's probably going to be run for its instant speed. Very, very cool. I hope it's real. I'd love to see the art for this card. When the real card is spoiled, then we'll talk about it more. Fanatic of Zetas. He's like Xenagos. Here's Xenagos hiding in the corner. And this art is really horrible. It's 3 for a 3/3 trample, center warrior, which is that's already great for limited. Awesome. Tribute 1, whenever it enters the battlefield, the tribute cost wasn't paid, he gets a 1/1 and haste until end of turn. So this card, you either get 3 for a 4/4 trample, or 3 for a 4/4 with haste and trample until end of turn, and then he's just 3 for a 3/3 trample. I love this card. I think it's very well designed, especially for limited, although I do see it possibly fitting into constructed, especially for aggro decks, because you really can't lose with this guy. You either get 3 for a 4/4 trample, which is not bad in any sense, or you get 3 for a 4/4 trample with haste for a turn, and then he's just 3 for a 3/3, which again is not bad at all as an effect. This card could see some constructed play. I do think for limited this is a go-to card and is phenomenal. I'm very happy they're printing it at uncommon, and it's I'm definitely going to go for this guy in the pre-release. Then we have here a story about the nature of identity, because apparently Leonin grew up with wolves, and that's cool, or something. And they go into a story just discussing the story within Born of the Gods, and it has some minor characters like Parasophia, who I think is the master lady for Ephara. Anyway, this card is awesome. He's like walking along, and he has these nets which are connecting to undead hands, so he's like the puppet master. I hope this is a good card. And then here we just have some more artwork. Hopefully this is kind of creepy actually, but hopefully maybe this will be like a clone effect or something, because the hand is actually his hand. And then here we have this art, which looks gorgeous. We saw it in the trailer, and guess what? It is a real card called Ephara's Enlightenment. 3 for an aura. It comes into play. Put a 1/1 counter on the enchanted creature, and it gains flying. 3 for a 1/1, and flying is not great. It's okay. And whenever a creature enters the battlefield, you may return it to your hand. So some people are falling over this card. They think that it can really push for hexproof. I don't love it. It's okay for limited. The fact that you can replay it, I think, has some legs in maybe a little bit in limited, depending on the right deck. And maybe a 1 or 2 of could fit into some sort of hexproof deck. But even with the bouncing in and out of play, I just don't see the power of this card. Though the art is gorgeous. I would just have a foil just to have one. Art in the set's so good. Then we have Divine Inspiration, which are just 5 limited cards that have inspired. Airy Worshippers, 4 for a 2/4 is fine, and whenever it becomes untapped, you may pay 3 and get a 2/2 flying bird. This is really, really good for limited, because you can swing with a 2/4 and probably keep it alive even by the later turns, just because it has 4 toughness. And being able to attack regularly and get bird tokens late game is, I think, going to be a really good engine for limited. All of them have some variant like this. This one is a 2/1 Intimidate for 4, which I think is too much. It's too vanilla, and it's too weak, despite the Intimidate, and it just gives you black zombies. I don't think this guy's all that good, even though, of course, it'll just see limited play. God-Favored General, 2 for a 1/1. Whenever it comes untapped, you may pay 3. If you do, you get 2 1/1 whites. 2 for a 1/1, I think, is, again, too vanilla and too weak, even for limited. Even for getting 2 1/1 tokens, I just don't see token play being viable in the set, in draft even, draft or sealed. Pharaoh's Band Raiders is the same sort of thing, except it's a big vanilla creature, 6 for a 5/5, which I think is fine. So this guy definitely has some legs, because late game he could just pump out guys as he attacks. Satyr at Nick Smith, 3 for a 2/1 haste. Whenever it becomes untapped, you may pay 3, and you get a 3/1 elemental with haste. This is important because that means every time he untaps, you get a 3/1 creature with haste for 3 that can attack that turn. The problem, of course, being he has no evasion as a 2/1. It's going to be rough to try to pick him out in limited, but I'm sure if you can play a deck with enough burn or removal, this guy will be absolutely bonkers in winning the game. So he'll fit in the right decks in limited. And that's pretty much the limited cycle. I would probably go for the blue as the best one in this cycle for limited. Then we have Deal with the Devil. We have Champion of the Stray Souls, our Mythic. 4 and 2 black for a Skeleton Warrior. Why we have Skeleton Warriors in Born of the Gods when they really just don't seem to be part of the flavor, I don't get it, but okay. 5, tap, sack X other creatures, return X target creature cards from your grave to the battlefield. Holy cow, they're not kidding about Mythic. This is ridiculous. But before we talk about it, it's 7 mana. Put it on top of your library from your graveyard. It's a 4/4 for 6. It's not legendary, which I think it should be, because this card could definitely stand as a commander in EDH. It's sad that he won't be, but oh my gosh, this is unbelievable for EDH. The fact that you can sacrifice small creatures, particularly little guys like tokens and utility guys, to bring back to the battlefield X target creatures from your graveyard, is basically swapping tokens for huge creatures. I think this card is going to be absolutely insane for decks that run lots of sack outlets and for decks that run reanimator effects. It's going to be a massive powerhouse for EDH, despite the fact it has no real protection. I like that you can get it back late game in EDH and Commander. There's enough time to get the 7 mana, though in Standard I just don't see him fitting. Even into Mono Black, he's just not... Maybe a one of in Mono Black, but I don't even think with Devotion going on that he's going to be powerful enough to work. Very cool card for EDH. Thank you for that. And then they talk about some random token generators and stuff. And lastly, we have the Black Wrath. Drown in Sorrow, 1 and 2 black for a sorcery. All creatures get -2/-2, and you scry 1. So it's a strictly better Infest, and Infest is just the same thing but without scry, which is cool. I don't think this is the Black Wrath everyone is hyping about, because that would probably fit into the rare category if it's going to actually be. If this is the card, it's kind of sad because it's just okay. But then again, I can see Wizards reconsidering putting something like Damnation in a set like this where Mono Black Devotion is so powerful. A card like this is more reasonable, even though I still think it's really, really strong for Mono Black Devotion or Mono Black Control, being able to get rid of aggressive decks and wipe out, even as a sideboard card against a very heavy aggro decks. This card, I think, it does its work. It's a solid removal spell, even for constructed sideboard. So those are the spoilers. Let me know what you think about them down below in the comment section. If you're enjoying spoiler season and you like what you see, tap that like button and then subscribe for more spoilers coming at you, hopefully daily. And as always, Roxabox90 signing out. I'll see you guys next time.